So welcome to the study group call. Um, Everybody should sign in under the roll call if you haven't already around line 55. It looks like a lot of people have. There's an interesting links section around line 70, 75, 76. So feel free to explore those links and add your own if you have any. The agenda for today is kind of packed, so we're going to move on pretty quickly. Our theme was community building. We kind of have a loose theme every study group call. Sometimes it's about certain lessons or themes related to programmatic topics or lesson plans. And because we're inviting our orientation attendees, so these are folks who have been attending our orientation sessions over the past few weeks, learning how to set up their study groups and how to build community, and we decided we would culminate this series in a study group call that everyone was invited to, not just our existing leads, to talk about community building and building capacity and growth in your study group. So anybody who's a new contributor, like Xana said before, please sign in under line 90. There's space for you to introduce yourself, and don't be shy. We're super nice, and mostly people just +1 you. But I think we're going to start off with a study group lesson walkthrough. So this is something we haven't really done before. We usually provide links to lessons, and we have a repository full of lessons for study groups. But we never walk through how to use those or what you're supposed to do in your study group session. And I think people just kind of make it up organically. But we thought we'd walk through with a seasoned study group lead or team of leads. So Will and Tom, if you wouldn't mind chatting about your lesson and walking through whatever you think would be helpful. Thanks.
Sure, I'm going to probably let Will mostly talk to this lesson. He's done a few things with Pandoc, but I think all of them. He's done the lightning talk and then more in-depth couple lessons on Pandoc. Will uses Pandoc for lots of things. So. Will, do you want to take over?
Yeah, sure. So as Tom said, there's a lesson about Pandoc. I see there's a link in the Etherpad, line 96 there to the to our GitHub repository page that this is in. So if you want to visit that. So see the README there, walk through it, and the basic layout that I came up with. So like Tom said, I gave a lightning talk, so we got a little 5-minute talk about Pandoc at one of our first meetings last semester, and given the positive response there, we decided to do a kind of deeper tutorial about how to use Pandoc to do some useful things that I've encountered in my work here. So Pandoc, for people who don't know, is a command line utility that lets you convert text between different formats. So I think its kind of primary design was to be able to take Markdown formatted files and turn them into like LaTeX PDFs or kind of websites, HTML. But it's expanded greatly, and there's a lot of different things you can do. And the Pandoc website is pandoc.org. I'll put that in Etherpad. It's pretty extensive and a really great place to look for. It's very good documentation for an open source software project. There we go. So the plan for the lesson plan was I came up with 4 use cases that I found Pandoc to be helpful for. And so they're each in one of these directories in the GitHub repository. So I have one that's like a journal article. So this is actually a manuscript that I was working on at the time, and using Pandoc to write the manuscript in Markdown, so it was pretty easy to write and everything, and then convert it into LaTeX for submission, and also to convert it into Word documents so I could send it to some collaborators who weren't super happy to edit LaTeX files. There's the CV, which is again my CV, which I manage in Pandoc, and it's kind of a complicated workflow. It's not a standard Pandoc workflow, but the idea here was to look at how to use templates just to. Okay,
Sorry, Will, if you, just to let you know, if you'd like, and it's totally optional, you can share your screen
Oh, that'd be great.
here.
How do
Yeah.
I do that?
And so it's along the bottom of the little toolbar where
Yeah.
at the bottom of the screen, there's something in a view that looks like a little play forward button with multiple options. Do you see it?
Yeah, clicking on it, but nothing seems to happen.
Okay, if it doesn't work, it's no problem. Usually you can click and it'll offer you a bunch of different windows that are across the web browser. And then you can choose the one that you have open.
Do something.
Yes, it did.
Okay,
Awesome.
perfect. So
And
this
then
is
for,
the,
just so
sorry.
for everybody else, if you want to see this bigger, you can, and I learned this last week from another call participant, you can click on that window and it will pop out into a larger window on your screen. Okay, that's it. Thanks, Will. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. That's helpful. So the we have an HTML example, which is really simple. I think it's a bit of my personal web page that I added in here. So there's a markdown file, which GitHub formats nicely for you, and then you can turn that into a website. And see how to do that. And then lastly, there's a Reveal.js, which is like a JavaScript presentation format. And so Pandoc can take presentation slides written in Markdown and make it into Reveal.js, among others. You can also do Beamer, which is like a text presentation. So I guess that kind of orients you to the stuff that's in the repository. Each of the folders has a makefile in it, which is not like a super fancy makefile. Ultimately, I was just using these to make sure I got all the flags right when I called Pandoc in the lesson. So you can see like the Pandoc invocations end up having kind of a lot of options you pass, and I want to make sure I remember all of that. But you should be able to go into each of these directories on your machine and type make, and it'll produce the final finished product that we were looking for. So the kind of outline of the actual lesson was pretty simple. I just went through the 4 examples, gave a little overview of Pandoc with the Reveal.js, which comes with, because it makes a nice presentation, I can show the presentation off to begin with. I think I had that open earlier. People see that presentation now? Yeah. So this is the slide deck that I came up with. It's pretty simple. And you can make this presentation. It's the example that's in that Reveal.js folder. So yeah, we walked through the different options, showed people how you call Pandoc and what you need in order to make a Pandoc process or a Pandoc workflow work. So you have your document that is usually written like Markdown or some other kind of simple markup language, and then a bunch of auxiliary files, your figures and templates and things, and then you all throw that into the kind of blender that is Pandoc, and you get out a nice little document. And we did run into a little bit of trouble at the beginning. Basically, I showed the article first, and that was a bad idea. The article was really complicated because it's like a really big document, and there are a lot of different options, and because it had to comply with like a journal format, I was using a bunch of complicated procedures to get it to look like that. So I would recommend staying away from that and starting with the Reveal.js and HTML. exactly something you can ask people to install on their own. They can install the software, but like they need a latex installation if they want to do that. And that's tricky if you've never done that before. So it's good to have time, I think, to work through some problems. So yeah, I guess that's basically the broad overview of the system. Is there anything else people would like to know about it?
It looks like there are some questions. Yeah.
Okay, great. Um, yeah, so I don't know if people are using this. We haven't really followed up with the people who are there. That's a good question that we should definitely look into. My guess is probably not as many as we would like, because people figure out their workflow that works for them, and changing that dramatically is probably more complicated. Than most people get stuck on, the most common questions. So the I don't think I did an amazing job of explaining at the beginning kind of what exactly Pandoc was doing. And so when I was calling Pandoc in the terminal, it looked a bit like magic. Like I was just like writing all these command line flags to pass in the right templates and stuff. And that it didn't quite seem I don't think people quite understood exactly how like your initial markup file goes through this Pandoc process. And that's why I think it's good to start with the much simpler examples, the HTML or the JS ones, because those are they basically output exactly what you put into it, whereas the latex ones, there's all this other stuff that goes along with it. It makes it seem really complicated. How long did it take to put the lesson together? That wasn't actually all that complicated, because like all of this stuff, for the most part, is stuff that I use Pandoc for anyway. So it's like I just grabbed my CV directory in that GitHub repository, grabbed a bit of the manuscript I was working on, put that in the repository. And so that was easy enough for me to do. So that was good. Since I used it already, like that's a good way to construct the lesson, I guess. Take questions during the example presentations or wait till the end of the presentation for questions. Yeah, we took questions during the presentation. It's pretty informal. We only had 10 people there, maybe maximum. We can find out we counted some. There. So yeah, our meetings are usually pretty informal. Just like a few people here to talk about things, and that's how I felt. Like we stopped doing the article halfway through it. The HTML version, because the people were clearly confused by the article.
It also took a bit, most people saw like that writing lockdown through a lot faster. HTML and coding that stuff, that's when I first did the presentation. People started to see the utility of like setting up a template and then just being able to crank out stuff with Markdown and not having to think about the layout and stuff like that. And the idea of like with the article that you write, your article and then have templates change it to whatever the journal requires. Because different journals have different formats, so you don't have to spend a lot of time doing that once you get it set up.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I don't think there are any more questions, so I think we're going to move on to Lou's section, but that was great. I hope that was helpful to everyone.
Yeah, thank you. I think, one of the reasons why we did this is for new study group leads. It's like, how do you even, like, okay, so once you have everyone in the room, like, what does it look like to actually run through a lesson, and what are some of the things that will happen? And I really like that you're willing to say, like, okay, well, this totally didn't work, so let's just switch gears. It's not like you have to create a presentation and a lecture and just, like, power through it no matter what. Like, that you guys are responsive to the
Totally. All right, next up, Lou. Would you like to introduce yourself and just start in on line 124?
Absolutely. So hi everyone, really nice to meet you. So I'm Lou Woodley. To give you a bit of background, I'm a scientist by training. So I ended up specialising in biochemistry and then failing to get a PhD twice. I went from that to start at Nature Publishing Group. So I was really interested in community building there for about 5 years, and that was everything from building out blogging platforms to supporting the staff with social media to organising a bunch of events around open science and the future of publishing, so really thinking about modern knowledge dissemination. I moved from that to work with Open Knowledge Foundation, organised the Open Knowledge Festival in Berlin in 2014, and then I moved from that to AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and that's where I am now. So at AAAS I wear two different hats. They're kind of related. The first one is that I'm the Community Engagement Director for Trellis. So Trellis is the brand new communication and collaboration platform that AAAS is building for the scientific community. So that's really me hands-on doing community building daily hands-on on the platform. But the other hat that I wear, and really what I want to talk about a bit more today, is I'm the program director for a new fellowship program called the AAAS Community Engagement Fellows Program. And really what this is all about is training scientific community managers. So most community managers typically don't self-identify as such. So usually their job title isn't community manager, but often they're fairly heavily involved in helping collaborations to work, or the other groups that we're interested in working with are those within professional associations and scientific societies, so organisations like AAAS. And these are really the people that I often describe as the invisible glue. So they make sure that all the communication happens, whether that's internally, externally, or both, that everybody knows what's going on. If new people join a group or join a community, the community manager is often the person that helps to onboard them. And so they're really key to making sure that everything runs smoothly, but often don't get a lot of credit for that. Now, more and more, folks are realising that this community engagement, community management, is actually a career path. And this is something that you can now actually do. Some folks are even doing it full time. And so the aim of this community engagement fellows program that Sloan decided to fund is to really push that a bit further. It was to say, first of all, what can we understand about the landscape of scientific community management? I'll talk about that in a moment. And then what can we do to support it? So can we take a class of fellows who are all involved in community engagement right now, get them to all meet each other, share their stories and struggles and learnings of the various things that they're involved with, train them up with a curriculum, and then basically see whether they can have a better year as a result. So go back to their day jobs and really end up being more effective at what they do, and to help demonstrate to people within their organisation that they really do have a valuable role. So really working towards professionalising community engagement as an actual career path. So any questions on that before I dive in and tell you a little bit more about what we've actually done so far with the programme? Okay. So the Community Engagement Fellows Programme, it's a Sloan Foundation funded programme. It's in its first year this year, so it just launched back in January. But before we actually started, what we did was a landscape survey to really try and understand what community engagement looks like in science right now. So we work with an organisation called the Community Roundtable, and I put links to some of their stuff in the notes. So they're a professional network. You basically pay to be a member, and they work with corporate community managers, so the kind of folks working for sort of tech companies, healthcare, insurance, things like that. And they provide all sorts of skills and training for those folks, but also do a couple of industry surveys every year. So they survey the state of community management in the corporate sector, and then they also do a salary survey and figure out what community managers ought to be getting paid. And all that stuff is freely available, freely downloadable on their website. And so when we said we were going to do a landscape survey of scientific community managers, we thought, well, why reinvent the wheel? Why not just reuse the survey that they'd created and customise it a bit for science? So that's precisely what we did. Sent that out, got over 100 responses, and basically learned a lot of things that we suspected in advance about what scientific community managers look like. So I put the links in my notes to there's 7 blog posts that really give you a taste most people working in scientific community building actually have a PhD. They're trained to at least master's level, but many do have a PhD. Many of them never realised they wanted to be a community manager when they grew up. It's just something that they've ended up accidentally getting into. And because it isn't really seen as a career career at the moment, most of them are learning the role on the job. So there's not really a lot of professional development resources out there. There are lots of community conferences and courses and things that you can go on to be a better community manager. So often they end up complaining about feeling a little bit isolated, often a lone wolf in their organisation, and they don't really know what to do to get better at the thing that they're really passionate about. So that reflected a lot of what we'd heard anecdotally, but we've actually got the survey data to back that up now. So there's 7 blog posts there that really give you a taster, and there'll be a full survey report coming out later this year. So having done that survey and realised, okay, great, we can justify running this programme because clearly scientific community managers could do with some support. We then went on to hire or take on 17 fellows in the first year, plus 2 staff fellows at AAAS, that's the 2 community managers that work on the Trellis team with me. And they all started in January. They're from a range of different organisations. So some of them are at professional associations and scientific societies. So we've obviously got AAAS represented. We've also got ASPB, that's the American Society for Plant Biology. We've got ASA, which is the American Soil Association, and others. We've got other organisations such as WildLabs, which is a really interesting collaboration between organisations like the World Wildlife Fund and Fauna and Flora, really looking to work with technologists and scientists, often the developing world, who are looking for technical solutions to ecological problems. So they're really sort of working across different stakeholders and building community amongst those different folks. We're working with Data One. We're working with something interesting called the Toolbox Project, which is it's a survey instrument designed to help identify differences in communication and assumptions when people come together to work in interdisciplinary collaborations. And then we've got research collaborations also represented. So IceCube are taking part, and an EPSCoR funded project out of Utah is another example of a scientific research collaboration. So it's a really broad-ranging class, lots of great experiences, and these folks have been doing these roles for a range of different time periods as well. So there's different levels of experience in the class too. So the first thing we did is I put together a week-long training curriculum for these fellows to take part in the second week of January, and that really involved looking at all the different aspects of community engagement and having a different day for a different topic. So for example, we spent a whole day on community strategy, we spent another day on engagement tactics, we spent another day on culture change and how community managers help to facilitate that within organisations. And I think by the end of the week we've thoroughly worn everybody out, while also sending them back home with lots of resources they could use in their day jobs. So all these folks, they're in existing roles, so they've then gone back out to the day job, and we're going to support them over the course of the year. So we've now got the cohort to talk to and compare notes when things go wrong, or report back on successes and best practices. We have a monthly check-in, so a bit like these community calls, we're all going to get together once a month for an hour and share how things are going. We're also going to develop something called a community playbook over the course of the year. So every other one of those monthly check-in calls, we're going to be developing a document for each organisation. So things like community guidelines, or looking at the IT infrastructure of the organisation and who's responsible for helping to tweak the community website, or who is responsible for the different social media accounts and so on. So that at least by the end of the year, everybody in the cohort will have a playbook they can take back to their organisation. The other thing that we set up in the training week were project teams. So the fellows decided on particular projects that they wanted to dive a little deeper in. So I'm on a working group that's going to look into our survey results a little bit more. We're going to extend those, we're going to try and get some more responses, and then we're also going to try and identify if there are common set of skills that scientific community managers have, and whether those are similar or different to the corporate community managers that the community mandate have looked at. We're going to get together again mid-year in June and in December as well, so we've got a bit more face-to-face time, and then hopefully at the end of the year we'll be able to report back and see just how much success these community managers encountered as a result of being part of the programme. So any questions? Excellent. Yeah, we're really thrilled too. This has been, really, really brilliant thing to put together, and it was a fantastic training week in January as well. Like, it clearly really resonated with everybody who took part, and it was, brilliant. We had Aurelia there for the week too. She was one of the mentors, so we had reflection sessions every afternoon where we asked the folks to take an hour to work through worksheets and just have some breathing room to work through the tasks that they've done the rest of the day, and Aurelia was one of the folks that helped them do that synthesis, and that was great as well. And the next question, are there developing or new professional organisations or conferences for community managers in science? No, so really we are in right now in terms of helping to professionalise this. There are a few conferences that you might be interested in, but there's nothing really that is truly specifically for science and focused on community management. So the two that I listed above is the Community Leadership Summit. So there's fairly well known, he's really like the famous community manager celebrity, this guy called John O'Bacon. So he started out at Ubuntu, so he's very much from the open source world, and wrote what is effectively the Bible of community management, which I've also listed. That's called The Art of Community, and there's a free ebook you can download if you want to read that as well. And that's really is literally like just the A to Z of building community. It's everything from how do you simplify your communication to how do you explain to your boss what it is that you actually do. So he runs an unconference every year called the Community Leadership Summit, and that's now taking place in Austin. And that just basically involves mostly a bunch of tech folks turning up, suggesting those topics that they want to hang out talk about for the weekend, and then it's all very organic, and people just get together and have some just really interesting conversations. So it's good, very good for networking, but definitely isn't a structured program. So it's not really a learning how to do community management, more a sharing and networking opportunity. The other conference that I listed, which is, it's interesting, but again, it's not really pure community management yet, is something called the Science and Team Science Conference, and that's really got a very heavy social sciences emphasis. So that's a lot of social science researchers saying we really want to understand how team science actually occurs. So we want to look at scientists and at interdisciplinary collaborations and see if there are common themes, if there are particular barriers to communication, if there are certain rules or guidelines you should follow when you set up a collaboration that means that collaboration is going to go more smoothly. Things like setting your expectations, where are you going to publish if you actually get the data you want, who is responsible for different things in the projects, and so on. They have got a website that you really need to dig around in to find resources on. There's lots there, but it can be a little bit buried, so it might be worth having a look around there and seeing if there's anything that looks useful for the projects that you're working on. Okay, are there common characteristics or abilities you've seen in CMs you've met or worked with? What makes a good CM? So this is a great question. So one of the links that I've put above online, 139, the skill sets of scientific community managers. The link that I put in there is to a skills wheel that the community roundtable developed. So in all their years of doing surveys, they were starting to notice common themes about what it was the community managers did day to day. And they identified 5 broad skill sets. So they basically make a pie and they split up into 5 broad skill families. And those are engagement, content, business, strategic, and technical skills. So engagement is obviously stuff like how it is that you actually interact with people to make them feel part of the community. Content is how you use content as a vehicle at which people can interact. Business is when you're thinking about both integrating that with your organisation and the value of community to them, but also in some cases how you're making money with the community's involvement. Strategic is, I think, often overlooked. So there's now an increasing amount of literature that looks at things like community life cycles and the different stages of community and so on. And as a community manager, you can plan very specifically the kinds of tasks that you should be involved with at each stage of that cycle so that your community continues to grow and flourish. So there can be a lot of thinking around that. And then technical skills are often the most underrated or overlooked in community managers. So many of us don't code, I don't, but you still may end up being tech support if you're running an online forum, or you may just end up using skills in terms of multimedia content development and so on. So it's not unusual that you're at least web savvy and happy to play around with multiple tools and provide support and training for others in using them. So one of the things I'm interested in, and that the working group that I'm part of in the Fellows Programme, is to ask, do those 5 skill sets actually apply to scientific community managers? You know, what does business mean? Does that really translate to things like grants and thinking about impact and research dissemination for scientists rather than business and the corporate interpretation of the world? And again, it'd be interesting to know whether scientific community managers have additional skill sets to these. Could be that there are things there that aren't listed. So we're going to look into that by comparing some of the job descriptions of scientific community engagement folks and doing some interviews as well. Okay, what are the different skills demands of CMs who work with collaborations versus those in associations? Yeah, the thing that really jumped out as part of the training week, I think, was our relationship to the word marketing. I think is the sort of most succinct way of summing it up. I think those of us in associations are quite used to using marketing terminology, so talking about things like ROI, return on investment, or you know, all the buzzword bingo words that are often associated with working in a large organisation. And that's obviously something that's less familiar often to folks who work in research collaboration. So we were really exploring as part of the training week how we felt about using those words to describe what we did, whether there was a common sort of lexicon shared between community managers. So I would say that's one of the, it's not so much that what people are doing day to day is drastically different. It's often that we perhaps talk about what we do in slightly different terms. I think as well, what a community manager does, you know, one of the reasons why I love the role is it never looks the same one day to the next. You know, you're very much wearing multiple different hats. You know, 5 skill sets is quite a lot to be drawing on, so you can have a very technical focused day, and then the next day you could spend the whole day writing content, or you could be jumping between things on any given day. And I think that's also true if you look at, you know, somebody in association A over here and compare somebody in association B. They may be broadly building community, but one of them might be rolling out an e-mentoring program, and then the other one might be running an online community and a set of newsletters and various guest blog posts. So they're definitely not identical roles, even within similar types of organisations. Okay. The study group leads who are in many ways acting as CMs for their groups, what's some advice that you would give, especially for those who are just starting or creating sustainable groups? Yeah, I would say the golden rule really with community management is good communication. You can never over-communicate. So in terms of letting folks know about expectations at the beginning, trying to be as collaborative as possible about that. I think people respond very well to feeling consulted and included, and there are lots of tools and ways of doing that online so that people understand the expectations of what's happening and how it is that they can contribute to things. And I think also communication includes things like helping people to feel welcome and helping to integrate them within the group. So one of the things that we do on Trellis in some of the groups that I run is we have a welcome thread, and we start a new one periodically as a way of giving people the spotlight, letting them introduce themselves, helping them find other people who are like them. You know, it's really that people element that keeps communities going. So you know, make sure you always make plenty of opportunities for people to actually connect human to human, and not just around the work that you're trying to get done. Okay, these are great questions. So I'll just whiz through some of the resources and topics that I'm thinking about at the moment, in case you want to dive off and explore any of those at some later point. So what am I thinking about right now? What was sort of on my mind? So one of the things obviously that we're really interested in with the Community Engagement Fellows Programme is community management as a career. It's obviously something I've decided to do. It's clearly something that other people are getting into now and wanting to stay involved with. And I often refer to that do we get recognition for being the invisible glue? Because really, if you're a great community manager, people shouldn't even realise you're there half the time. You know, a lot of what you're doing is behind the scenes, it's introducing someone to somebody else, then getting out of the way and just letting them do their thing. It's seamlessly making sure that things keep moving. And I think illuminating why that is important for organisations is often quite difficult. So I'm really keen to explore that through the Fellows Programme and beyond. We've talked a little bit already about these skill sets of scientific community managers. It's one of the things that the project team are on. What the Fellows Programme is going to look at is whether those 5 skill sets for general community managers applies to science as well. I'm also really obsessed about the idea of culture change at the moment as well. So I really see community managers as agents of culture change within their organisations. So for example, if you do network groups of information flow within an organisation, a community manager often ends up being one of the nodes. So really all of this sort of information and lots of the key kind of stakeholder relationships pass through that community manager. And that obviously puts them in a well-informed position, and it also helps them to see the landscape of what's going on in the culture of their organisation, and hopefully then often influence that to being more open and more collaborative and doing things in a more I guess modern and communication focused way. So I'm really interested in the role of community managers as facilitating that and how culture change works. And then of course the flip side of that is, if you're the person who's getting the most email or sitting in the most meetings, you're also likely to be the person that ends up the most frazzled if you don't look after yourself. And I think self-care and burnout is a big topic in the community management space at the moment. And how do we make sure we look after each other and ourselves, and take a break, turn off the internet, go on holiday, hike up the mountain when you need to, and know that it's probably all still going to be there when you get back. So if any of this stuff piques your interest, there's a few things that you might want to dive into some more. So I run a family of groups on Trellis called C4Sci, as that's Communities for Science Communication. We've got a parent group that's all about online communities in general, and then we've got specific subgroups that focus on community management, or use of social media, or event organisation, and things like that. So that's free to access for anybody who might be interested. All you can do is drop me an email, and I can ping you an invite to that group. I do blog, sadly a bit more intermittently than I'd like at the moment, but there's a bunch of stuff in the archives on the blog Social and Silico, so feel free to go and dig through that. There are lots of it's all been categorised as well, so event organisation sort of thing. There's a series of posts that discuss different types of event formats and what works for what you're trying to achieve. I've been digging into the academic literature about communities as well, things like definitions of community and how that sort of evolved through the literature, and there's a bunch more besides as well, sort of moving to thinking a bit about sort of leadership and culture change as well. I mentioned the Community Roundtable, so they've got a whole bunch of really downloadable resources on their website. They're definitely worth checking out. They're a great folks in Boston. And then the other community management site, again for corporate community managers, is called CMX Hub, and they're less well established than the Community Roundtable, and they have a more slightly sort of less research focused part of what they do. So it's more of a support network, I think, and sort of blog posts and things like that than the CR, that are very interested in actually understanding the landscape and providing consultancy around what they do. And then if you want to read a bit more about community management, I already mentioned John O'Bacon's Bible, The Art of Community. It's a nice, easy read. It breaks out into some big chunk chapters, and it's really downloadable online as well. The other book that goes nicely alongside that is by a guy called Richard Lewton, who's written something called Buzzing Communities, and he digs more into some of the literature about community and describes things like the 4-stage community life cycle, and talks about things like what metrics you should be measuring if you're building communities and things like that. If you're more into the culture change side of things, then the other 2 books might be of more interest. So Maddie Grant's book, Humanize, really looks at organisations and how they would need to change in order to focus on being more so that's really about empowering individuals, giving individuals sort of ownership and leadership on the particular projects and skills that they have. And this is in some ways a almost more accessible translation of Peter Senge's seminal text, The Fifth Discipline, where he really presents this idea of a learning organisation as being an organisation that is composed of individuals who continue to learn and grow, and because of that, the organisation continues to learn and grow. And one of the things that he argues is really key for that is systems thinking. So rather than getting hung up on this idea of just linear cause and effect, we have to understand that everything operates in an ecosystem. So for example, if I'm building a product and I make the product cheaper, I might be mistaken for just thinking there's a linear relationship between that and the fact that more people buy it. If my product is cheaper, more people buy it, great, that's the end of the story. Actually, if my product is cheaper, then that probably means I'm using cheaper resources to actually build it. That means it probably lasts less long. That means that I'm probably diminishing my brand. Maybe in 6 months' time my product breaks, and in 12 months' time nobody buys it anymore because it's got a really rubbish reputation. So, you know, he takes a much more interesting systems view of how things interconnect. And I think that's, at least for me as a community manager, really resonates in terms of thinking about the organisations that you work within, and again this culture change piece and how you can actually support and enable the people that you work with. And then we've already talked about the 2 events listed there. So see any more questions at that point.
I think we're going to have to move on to the study group updates, Lou, but that was amazing. Thank you so much for all of the references. Excellent. Thanks so much. And I took a bunch of notes below the questions. Some of them aren't as necessary because you actually went over them. I realized after I scrolled up and I was like, oh, well, there were already notes here. But double notes. Thanks so much, Lou. Okay, so study group updates. For those of you here, we're just going to skip around to the ones that have text underneath. And if you could just give a quick minute update of what your study group's working on, maybe bold or highlight the thing that you want us, that's the most salient in your updates. I don't know if anyone from U of T Coders is on the call. Is anyone on the call from U of T Coders? Maybe? I know Madeline has a lab meeting during this time, so I think they just put their update in here. But it looks like they're running some software carpentry workshops. They have a logo. They're getting some stickers made. It's very exciting. Tom, do you want to go with your update?
Yeah, we're in a bit of a pause. We've had some kind of turnover with people moving on who were kind of board members, which is good for them. But then I've been out on leave since April, so we're kind of brainstorming some ideas of how to. Let's talk today with them.
Good, awesome, thank you. Danielle, would you like to give your update?
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, good. So yeah, just a quick update. There's a lot going on. We're joined forces with 2 other groups on campus, so suddenly we have a totally full calendar of events.
Wow.
And the thing I'm most excited about right now is we're going to do a data rescue event, and we're actively working on a lesson plan where beginners will learn to use and work with JSON files as a terminal, and then more advanced people will do more advanced things like write web scrapers to figure out what is different from data.gov to what was in data.gov 2 weeks ago. So I think it'll be a cool sort of, it's going to be a cool event, and I will recap in the Getter channel so you guys can find out how it goes.
Thanks so much. That's awesome. Are you still on the call, or did you drop off? I don't know if he could stay. Oh, he's in the pad. Well, if you can unmute yourself, awesome, and give your update. But otherwise, there are 2 updates around line 218 and 223 from Amit's groups. Lots of technical updates. They're quite advanced. They're doing a Rust hack day, which is very exciting. Cool. Sarah, would you like to go next?
Sure. Don't have much new. We started our semester off with social. It went really well. I think people stayed around for 2 hours. I was kind of surprised.
All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, okay, so we're going to skip through CERN and University of Minnesota and Vancouver and get to Vicky's update for Fox IoT. I don't know if he could join the video. It's quite late in India right now, but he has some amazing updates. Oh, yes, and they had an event, and I made a little presentation video about study groups. So if you ever want to reuse a video or an intro video to what are study groups and what is the Mozilla Science Lab in your sessions, feel free to ping me and I'll send you the video and you can play it at the beginning. And I'll send you the slides and stuff too if you just want to do it for yourself. Marcos, are you on the call?
Yes, hi.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hi. So we actually are a little bit behind. So yesterday we had this kind of zero meeting because I just went along with all the students of my lab and we planned our first official group meeting. This will be next week. And we are inviting a lot of people, and I believe it will be very cool. So we are excited here. So, but we are planning a lot of stuff right now.
Cool. Thank you for the update. Great. So there are some links. We usually have some links related to the theme of the day, and this theme today was community building, and we have 3 minutes, and we're going to make this happen in 3 minutes. So there's the group on Trellis, C4Sci, that Lou mentioned is linked there. You can email her if you're interested in joining. It's pretty cool, and the topics are really interesting that people post in the discussions, so it's sometimes nice. I just sign up for the alerts, and I get occasional email updates about what people have posted in the forum. There's the Team Science Conference, again, I put in the events, but you should also check out the ones that Lou recommended. And then there's a bunch of links to tools and podcasts and tips for science blogging or science community management. So just check out all those links when you have a moment, because they're kind of useful and interesting. The only announcement that I really want to call out before I flip to Xana to see if she has any updates is around line 309. We've talked a lot on our calls about having some kind of events tracker or website that would highlight all of your events globally, where you could log how many people attended your event and where it was, and then it would show up on our little panorama site of all of the study group events that are going on concurrently. So we kind of have a prototype up now, and we just want everyone to check out the form, which is on line 311. No, fill out this form. Oh yeah, 310. There's the event site, which is linked on 311, and that's where you'll see it populate on the GH pages for that site. But if you just want to check out the questions in the form and see if they're relevant to you, and feel free to email us about whether they are or aren't. We put in a bunch of questions, and some of them you might find this takes too long to fill out, or these terms and categories that you asked me to fill out in the checkbox don't really apply to my study group, and I'm wondering how I'm supposed to fill this out. Most of them are optional questions, but we'd like to get some feedback, and before we announce the official finished prototype where everything works, and we have some example ones in there so that it looks a little bit less like a blank site. So just check out the form, let us know how you feel. You can email me, I'll put my email address in here. And that's all I wanted to call out, except that the next call is on March 3rd, so mark your calendars. And Xana, do you have any updates?
I don't, except to say that, I don't except to say that the next week for the study group orientation folks, we're going to just do a little check-in on the Gitter chat and hold sort of optionally do check-ins throughout the semester. And so I'll be sending instructions about that early next week. So no meeting for this last study group orientation, just an update and progress report and questions on the Gitter chat, probably on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Okay, so great, thank you.
Awesome.
So much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Great call.
Have a great week. Bye.